BeerBellyBegone.com. Lose the belly, not the beer.
Hey guys, I'm Dr. Sean. I'd like to welcome you to BeerBellyBegone.com. Today's video coaching call is the first of many to come. We're going to focus on 3 steps of change: realization, planning, and action. Today's video is actually going to focus on realization. People place so much emphasis on starting the new year off on the right foot. There seems to be this idea or this thought that you can rewrite all the wrongs of the past year when the new year rolls around. The act of waking up January 1st armed with a new version of yourself, ready to take on whatever you dreamt up the night before, is a common thought shared by a big portion of the world. Right? It's a common concept, these New Year's resolutions. But where do we find ourselves now? It's the end of the month, the end of January already, February 1st, and most of the people have already started to dust their New Year's resolutions underneath the rug. Aside from a small percentage of the people who actively plan and set and measure their goals throughout the upcoming year, most of us, we lack the willpower in order to follow through. The idea or the concept of resolution doesn't work. And we're going to show you why. So the biggest problem I see in the inability to change some aspect, formulate new habits or set new goals, is the lack of realization of your current situation. Realization, step 1, is the first and most important step in order to provoke change. You have to accept where you are in order to realize where you need to be. A colleague of mine, Dr. Mike, had this patient, Bob, that he'd been treating over a course of 10 years. Dr. Mike had been on Bob's case to try and quit smoking over the course of the treatment. Hounding him different ways, trying to encourage him, but it never seemed to work. Then one day Bob shows up, and Dr. Mike can tell that he quit smoking. It's pretty easy to see when someone, or to acknowledge the fact or notice when someone stops smoking, because their clothes smell better, their hair smells better, they're breathing better, their circulation's improved, they have new color to their skin. So Dr. Mike excited, he goes to Bob and he says, "Bob, it's amazing, congratulations, you quit smoking, but I gotta ask you, after all these years, what made you do it?" And Bob pauses and he kind of looks down at the floor and looks back up to Mike and he says, "Dr. Mike, I got emphysema. I had to quit." Another example of the process of change, or the realization of the process or the need to change, is in a book that I read by the author Timothy Ferriss, The 4-Hour Body. Tim Ferriss also wrote The 4-Hour Workweek. But in the book, The 4-Hour Body, Tim, he termed the realization for the need to change as something he called the Harajuku moment, or Harajuku. A friend of his had been traveling in Japan, and he found himself in this trendy, hip, young neighborhood called Harajuku. I believe it's a suburb of, or a neighborhood in Tokyo, where they're known for their fashion. So this friend of his was upset. He was ticked off because all of his buddies, or his traveling partners, they were buying all sorts of clothes and trying all these awesome cool clothes from this really cool part of the world, and he couldn't do it because of his weight. That was his Harajuku moment. He realized the need for change. He went home, back to the US, and over the course of the year he lost 120 pounds, regained his health, regained his life. What these 2 stories have in common is that in order to change an aspect of their lives, the characters had to go through their own process of realization. One's realization came in the form of, unfortunately, a disease, and the other was the fact that he couldn't fit into the clothes that he wanted to. Regardless, they both acknowledged the need for change and went out and did it. Alright, bringing it back to resolutions. If you go through some process of realization in the months, weeks, days leading up to the new year, then yes, technically resolutions can work. Whatever the case may be, I still say this. Why wait until next year, or tomorrow for that matter, to change? Start today. Anyways, I want to thank you guys for listening, and we look forward to showing you about planning and action in the upcoming video post. Stay tuned. This is Sean from BeerBellyBeyond.com.
BeerBellyBeyond.com. Earn your beer.